I'm just sitting there holding a flashbang. Guys, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready?
Send
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Send me. Genius,
I
send me.
go,
I'm gonna one-tap him.
flashbang! Go! And they're like, and Genius just starts running, you know.
You
Yeah,
gotta
so-
hold him back for a couple seconds to get him keen for it, you know? It's like
yeah,
a
yeah,
bunch
yeah.
of racing dogs or something.
Yeah, you're gonna have like the engine starting and it's revving, and the flash goes up, boom! He's like, bah, 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 and he's goes all the way in, right? So yeah,
There you
yeah.
go.
So yeah, if you're doing good, I think it's a team effort.
Alrighty, welcome back to Geographically Challenged. This is episode 8, and honestly didn't expect that we were going to get an episode out this week, but pretty keen to have a look-see at what's going on this week within Asian Counter-Strike. Now, obviously you can see I've got Pilsky Casts. He's back again, you know, one of our regular co-hosts. Bleh has had an upgrade, though. He's turned into Impression, which is great to see because we finally get some relevant insight into the Asian Counter-Strike community. So great to have you on, Impression. And I think for the people that might not be viewing from the Asian region, or for people that maybe just don't know you, do you want to give us a quick little update as to what's going on in the world of Impression right now?
Yo, what's up, guys? So Impression here, I play for BTRG, also known as Big Time Rego Gaming. I'm the captain and in-game leader. And currently, I think as per tournament standings, I'm top in Southeast Asia right now. So yeah, just gotta put it out there.
Just a bit of a subtle
yeah.
plug. What do you think about that, Pilsky?
Yeah.
Do you think BTRG's top of Asia right now?
Oh, Southeast
no way.
Asia. Oh, don't get me wrong.
Southeast Asia. Okay.
Southeast
Asia's a
Asia.
long way to go, man.
Do you even count it as Southeast Asia? I mean, I suppose you do. You got Thailand and Indo. I mean, 4 out of 5 Southeast Asia. But yeah, the boy that's doing the best out of all of you is old mate Zion.
yeah, definitely.
All right, so
That's a outside carry, you know.
it's a bit of an interesting kind of a thing. I did actually have this question about BTRG that I thought we could talk about later, but since we're kind of on the topic, what's actually like what's going on with BTRG? Like, are you guys playing from home? Like, are you still in Singapore, or is there an intention? I thought you were like a Chinese org, so I thought that the intention might have been to like have a gaming like set up in China or something.
Well, we actually do have a like a gaming office, and based in China, in Hangzhou, right,
Right.
where BTRG is actually based in. But right now, due to all the COVID-19 like concerns and everything, we're all just playing from home.
Okay, so yeah,
So
that clears that up then.
yeah, traveling's a bitch right now. You can't get visas into China no more. They're just like, because right now China's recovered from wave 1, right, and they're worried about wave 2. So traveling still like really, it's really troublesome.
But in an
It's a
ideal
nuisance.
world, like right now, you'd be in China.
Yeah. If everything is in this world was fine and dandy, we'll be boot camping right now in China.
Okay, cool. Not the only team, I think, that's been struggling with coronavirus then. Anyway, that's something that I think we can break down a little bit more in depth as we get further on into the discussion. That's probably at the end of the episode where we'll be talking about BTRG. Obviously, for anyone that's watching, there's always timestamps down in the description. So if you want to jump into anywhere in particular, you can find them down there. Let's start off with the Weibo Cup results. Now, this is probably going to be quite a good time for you, Impression, to sort of jump onto Geographically Challenged. Obviously, you guys played in Weibo Cup, and we talked about it a little bit on the last podcast when we sort of said the teams that were going through to playoffs, and we saw, you know, pretty much the expected teams go through to playoffs, Pilsky. But based on the results that we've seen so far, or basically based on the results that we've seen from the tournament, because it's finished now, things have not necessarily gone the way that we thought that they would. I first want to touch on the fact that Tiger's kind of gone back to back here, which is really solid by them. Obviously, they won Road to Rio. Now they've gone back to back. They've won the Weibo Cup as well. So Pilsky, that definitely is kind of proving to me, at least, that Tiger, you know, that one result in Road to Rio wasn't like a little bit of a fluke, you know, sort of a bad performance from Tyloo and Vici that they kind of scraped through against as Tiger. But now they've been able to do that twice, I think is pretty interesting, actually, in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think I'm really looking at the fact that Tyloo and Vici kind of underperformed in a tournament like this. Like, how often do you see Tyloo and Vici go 5th to 8th in a competition? Although this one had a bit of a interesting format going into from the groups into the playoffs, which filtered out. I mean, as Impression mentioned, a lot of the Southeast Asian teams, like the Thai teams, did not do very well at all or anything like that in some of these online tournaments recently, and BTRG's slipped themselves into a nice 3rd place there, so that's pretty impressive. As for Tiger, yeah, it is interesting to see them go back to back. They're quite a solid team at the moment, and they're proving their consistency there, beating RG in the grand final. Although that was a pretty close series, if I remember correctly. And RG is a team that I've quietly got my eye on. Quite a few good players in that team that they might be a little bit underrated in terms of the Chinese teams, in my opinion. So it's an interesting result, especially considering the reports around Tiger at the moment with changing players and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's a bit of a interesting thing to consider when looking at the lineup. I mean, with the lineups that have been lineup changes that have been proposed, they're already doing quite well, and one of their top performers is one of the players they'll be replacing. So.
Yeah, I mean, before we get too far into the discussion, I guess, about the rest of the Weibo Cup Impression, what's your take on that news? Like, do you take much of a stock in the potential Tiger changes, or do you sort of just say, like, that's not going to happen? That's some sort of weird leak that isn't actually the truth?
Well, my personal opinion is that whether or not it happens, uh, well, whether or not it's a rumor or not, the idea of it is something that's really, I think, kind of satisfying to think about. Because if you put Akast, Dobu, and Cabal who have decent English, Akast who obviously, Urk is crazy, right? He's studying in Australia and everything. And you put them in a team with 2 other people who have good English, like Snappy's Danish, definitely good English there. And of course, Muya, let's not talk about him. If Snappy brings a good system and with that firepower that they're gonna have from the Mongolian CS is crazy firepower, right? And with a good system and crazy opera like Smuya, I think if Tiger does pull through with the lineup with Snappy and Smuya, that's gonna like really, really like challenge Asia to become better at Counter-Strike. So that's something that I'm actually really looking forward to and really excited to see if it does happen. Because by then, the rest of Asia, the big names, Tyloo, Vici, they have to keep up, right? And then and because they have to keep up with Tiger, what's gonna happen is that everybody's just gonna improve like rapidly. That's of course the ideal scenario, right? If you're a pro player, you don't want to lose. You want to try your best to win the best team, which Tiger is gonna be if they do bring in like 2 European players. Because I've seen what 2 European players can do for a team. That happened for me like last year with BTRG, where we had Truth and Feds. And I personally experienced how it is like to play with European players and how it affects and changes your mindset as a player, the kind of experience they can bring on board, and just pure crazy Counter Strike that they can bring to a team that will make you so good. So Tiger is gonna be crazy if it does pull through, but we'll see. We're not too sure about it right now, right? So yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you saw like that. I retweeted like one of DK's videos where he's the one who like covered this change, and in his video he says that the deal with Snappy's done already. Like it's 100% done. It's just a question of if he's going to be able to actually go and play with the team. So, I mean, as for Smuya, who knows? But supposedly they've already acquired one of the 2.
Oh, yeah.
Very interesting.
Oh, that's interesting. I actually haven't seen that. So yeah.
Yeah, go on my Twitter at PilskiCasts. Also, you probably need to hit the follow button before you actually click on the video. I don't know why you would need to do that, but it's
You can't unlock
important.
the content without hitting follow.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, well, look, I have all these questions about BTRG, but I don't want to necessarily dive too far into them while we're doing this Weibo Cup discussion. So let's just get your thoughts quickly on Tiger, just in general, like assuming they haven't made the roster changes, right? Impression. The fact that they've gone back-to-back in Road to Rio, their solid performances here in Weibo Cup. I mean, surely you must be, like, as a team that competes within the Asian region, looking at them as kind of one of the big dogs right now, right?
Honestly, when we were going up against Tiger, having just come out to win from Tyloo, I seriously thought that if we had won Tiger, we had won the tournament, because I knew that Tiger had like good foundation. They have their bases covered. Like because they kind of have this that's the thing about Mongolian CS right now, is that all their players have a good foundation to build on themselves as players. So kind of like any player can do any role in any situation, which is like ideal for Counter-Strike, right? Your lurker doesn't have to always be a lurker. It could be an entry fragger in a situation, So stuff like mechanical stuff like that. In terms of mechanical stuff, Mongolian CS has really got their players has really got mechanical stuff all really covered well. So I thought that okay, if we had won Tiger, then we definitely won the tournament. So yeah, I think to answer your question, they are definitely the big dogs now. And if this snappy thing has really been confirmed already, I think they're gonna be the guys to beat in Asia in like the next 6 months or something.
I think it's interesting that you say that, because Invictus was on the other side of the bracket and you guys lost to Invictus last month in play from home. So you feel more confident taking them on again in the grand final of a competition like.
Yeah, of course, because we have Thai CS now.
We already know Pilsky's a very big fan of Thai CS, and we'll talk about those BTRG roster mania as well later on in the episode. I think that's going to be a fun discussion topic for you in particular, Impression, to sort of try and work your way around. Either way, yeah, look, Tiger's looking pretty good at the moment. I think they're a pretty interesting prospect. I think that they should hopefully continue to perform within the Asian region. And the one sort of negative I really have is that unfortunately we don't get to see them in Dreamhack Masters. Like, if they were in Dreamhack Masters instead of Beyond, like, that would be pretty awesome. But again, that's something that we'll talk about in a little bit. Moving on from the Tiger discussion, okay, good to see IG coming in second place. I don't think that there's like a huge amount to talk about there. Like, Pilsky, you've already sort of alluded to the fact that they're a pretty solid Chinese team. And I think when you see Vici and Tyloo kind of out of the picture, they're definitely one of the other teams that you'd sort of expect to be performing pretty well. What I find a more compelling storyline out of these Weibo Cup results is that BTRG actually managed to get a third place here. So I'll first give this one to Pilsky, right? And he can give his opinion on this, and then we'll get your thoughts, Impression. So, I mean, to see BTRG finally get a result that's like half decent, Pilsky, it must be a bit of a breath of fresh air, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to put together a lineup like this with different nations and put together like, let's be real, by putting Executor and Zion on a lineup, you're sucking up a lot of talent that could do a hell of a lot of work in any other lineup you put them in my opinion. So if you're not going to get results with those kind of players on your lineup, it kind of feels like a bit of a waste of time. So the second that you actually, I mean, it's always a waste of time if you're competing in Pro CS and you're not getting the results that you want. But especially if you could take those players, in my opinion, and put them on another squad, and they could get the results that are deserving of their talent. So it's good to see BTRG placing well in this tournament. I think with how unstable Asian CS is at the moment, especially you're looking at some of the Chinese teams being really up and down. Maybe they could do even better results. It's going to be quite hard with the Mongolians playing pretty well. So it's good to see a third place. I'm hoping that they're going to continue improving more and show us some even better results. As for Invictus, though, it's a pretty solid lineup. I mean, it's a lot of the names that you roll off the tongue when you're talking about the two Chinese teams below Invictus and below Tyloo. I've had my eye on Flying for a while, since he was in the last Invictus lineup with the two Russians. He showed some pretty good stuff there, qualifying for an international tournament. Then you've got Viva, you've got Zhao Sage, who played in Firepower, Destroyer from eHome. There's plenty of names here, so it's not really surprising to see finally a Chinese team being put together and not being disappointing below at least the top two, because there's definitely the talent. It's just about getting the right formulation of players, in my opinion.
All right, well, let's hear from you then, Impression, with regard to BTRG and Weibo Cup. And I think it's something that at least myself and Pilsky and Blair as well, all of the kind of observers of the Asian Counter-Strike region have kind of been waiting for, is to see BTRG, which looked like it could be a good team, get a pretty reasonable result on the board. So is that kind of what it felt like internally? Has it just been like, okay, finally we have that result that we've been looking for? Or, have you guys been happy with the performances up to this point?
I think the performances that we've had up to this point was absolute dog shit. Like, I'll be really honest, right? Like, this like podium placement in Weibo Cup is kind of like a saving grace for us,
Right.
because like Pili mentioned, right? You put Zyne, you slot Zyne into any other team as a last, he's gonna go crazy, right?
Mm.
Like, throw him into Vici right now, like to take over whoever, he's gonna do well. Vici's gonna do well. Or you put Xcure
Don't
back
give
in
him
Tyloo
ideas.
right now. Yeah, I mean, you put Xcure back in Tyloo right now as the main AWPer, he's gonna do well. He's gonna do a lot of work. And these two guys that I'm playing with are two guys that they don't necessarily take up a lot of space as players in the team,
Mm-hmm.
but they can create a lot of space for you on, like, in the server. So these guys will be amazing, like what Pili mentioned, if they were put into another team. But when we're in a situation where we're put together and we permanently do not have a fourth or a fifth player, that's kind of where, results just don't come true, because we're always I have a system when I'm calling, right? Because obviously I'm the in-game leader. I have a system, and every time we change a player, I have to teach that system to a new player,
Mm-hmm.
and we're constantly stuck at 70%. Every time we get to 80, we change a player, we go back to 60, and then we get to 70, and then we change a player again, and then that shit just fucking, like, I'm so sorry, but that thing's just like, it's never ending, right? It's a endless cycle, and it got to everyone's mentality, their mindset, and the mindsets. You just can't play good CS when you're not fresh.
Mhm.
That's the truth. Counter-Strike is the game of confidence. Counter-Strike is the game of, believing in yourself, in your team, what you've practiced for, and shit like that, right? So I think us getting third place here, just especially with the fact that we are actually on trial with Genius,
Mhm.
and Eeyore just recently came back, it's kind of like a thing that shows to us, like, even after we had a loss to Tiger, everyone didn't blame anybody else but themselves for not playing as well, and it was just kind of like, guys, I think, we really got this. Like, we gotta work hard now. We
Mhm.
need boot camp, and shit. Like, we're really, really, really looking forward to the future right now with this lineup. And so, yeah, I guess a decent result could have been better, because I think we could have, like, brought at least Tiger to a third map or something, and we might have even won them if we were better prepared.
Mm.
But yeah, BTRG, I think, upward trend, hoping to do even more. I mean, guys like both of you, Pili and Fish, right? Like, the two of you guys are looking for, like, good Asian Counter-Strike.
Sure.
I'm trying to bring that to Asia,
Hopefully.
because I think Counter-Strike is it's not that hard to learn. It's not that hard to get good at, but it's really, really hard to get 5 players who are good at it to work together.
Mm.
And that's what I'm trying to do right here, like in BTRG. So yeah, hopefully, yeah.
So you said that BTRG sort of seems like it's been playing at like maybe 75% with all these roster changes. What level did you think you were playing at during Weibo Cup? Like, have we seen maybe 90%, or are you still sort of cruising along?
I think at the start of Weibo Cup, because Weibo Cup was Swiss, right?
Yep.
So at the start of the tournament, which was, I think, it was actually early in May. Oh yeah, okay, it was mid-May.
Mhm.
At the start of the tournament, we were maybe at like 65%, and I think by the end of it, we were probably at 80, because during the period of time where we were losing and winning and shit like that, because we were actually down, I think, 1-2 in Swiss, and we kind of like started winning back. We won 2, I think. Yeah, we won 2 back-to-back series against Huatzai and Zigma, and that was where where we patched a lot of holes, because honestly we weren't that good at the start of the tournament. We lost to D13, and we lost to like LVG and stuff. So I think 80% was where we were at by the time we got third place, and I'm looking to get that extra 30% in, like, so we can run at 110. I think there's more tournaments coming up, so should be interesting to see. We're gonna do our best.
Okay. Well, hopefully it goes well. And like you said, we'd like to see some good Asian Counter-Strike. And actually, I don't think I've ever actually casted a game of BTRG yet. So I'm hoping that you guys will qualify for some sort of Dreamhack or ESL competition or something like that. But to tie it back into the Weibo Cup discussion, you, again, what you said earlier was that something like you thought that if you could beat Tiger, you could win the whole thing. So let's move this discussion now into the Tyloo and Vici kind of underperformance, because I think it's fair to say that they really did underperform here in Weibo Cup, right? You don't expect that both Tyloo and Vici are going to be taking, like, what was it, 5th and 6th place overall in a competition like this. It was actually 5th to 8th, so they were equal 5th to 8th, which is pretty rubbish, actually, for teams of that caliber, who are supposed to be far and away the best teams in Asia. So what do you think, like, as a player, when you see Tyloo and Vici are kind of out of the picture? Like, I know you obviously had to deal with them at some point in the group stages potentially, but once you get to playoffs and you're thinking, okay, well, I don't actually have to beat them, I have to play Tiger, I have to potentially play like IG or D13, surely you're looking at that and saying, all right, the big boys are out of here, like what's going on?
Well, I think for Tyloo, it was kind of like
I mean,
Tyloo
you
was
beat Tyloo in the quarters, so I mean,
Yeah.
that's how you dealt with them.
Hmm.
How did you feel about
Yeah.
that match, though?
I think the thing about Tyloo was that when they reverted to an all Chinese lineup, and I saw that lineup, I felt like it was kind of like they were. I wouldn't say like. I mean, a way to put it is destined to fail, but I think it's more like they would fail at some point along the way, and I think they'll pick themselves up again
Mm-hmm.
because that team doesn't have like an in-game leader. The way they're playing right now, they don't have a system where it works for them, like their individual set of players, like with their skill sets. So I think they gotta figure themselves out. I don't think they have a player problem right now. I think they have like a system problem.
Sure, and that kind of ties
So
into what Pilsky was saying even on the broadcasts as well.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
that
mean,
was kind of like our mentality playing against them as well. We knew they were gonna come at us with good, like really good aim, crazy Chinese style, but we were ready to deal with it. So I think that was kind of why we got the W. But yeah, but what Pilsky said, yeah.
Well, what would you want to touch on that then, Pilsky? Like, are you kind of surprised by these Tyloo Vici results?
I don't really know what to make of Tyloo because they keep struggling against teams that they usually wipe the floor with, and sometimes we saw them beat Vici really uncharacteristically. That was like a really weird game. So it's really hard to assess. All that I know is that I've watched a lot of games Tyloo pre-change and a lot of games of Tyloo post-change, and it does feel like a completely different team. Like if you took the name tags off, you wouldn't say that it's Tyloo. They play like 1-3-1s all the time. They play super standard CS and like just kind of play pretty basically. And it feels like a lot of the bite has like gone out of their game where they're just sort of outskilling people and holding W at people. Like at least in the games, I didn't watch the BTRG quarter in Weibo, so maybe you can tell how you felt like their style was in that series, but at least when we watched them in Road to Rio, I've never seen Tyloo 1-3-1 so much and run a default like on the T side and not one time just run into a bomb site. Like, on Mirage, they literally just did mid control every round, whereas old Tyloo, it's like they just rush B apps or like go quickly into B or like Palace pop or something like that. And we saw literally nothing of that from them. So, I mean, the only time where they really looked like their old self was when they sort of switched things on a little bit in Road to Rio against Vici and the two maps to do that reverse sweep where they just started playing really loose and relied on individual skill, and that worked much better for them. I don't think it was a particularly good grand final that they played against Tiger, even though they almost won it. It just feels like Tyloo's about 50-60% at the moment. They're not even close to what this lineup's capable of, and I don't think I've ever seen somebody play this bad in his entire career.
Do you have any thoughts on that impression?
Well, I kind of second on everything that Pilsky said. And also just to touch about somebody, I think somebody is a guy that kind of plays he plays crazy but smart CS, right? Like him walking through smokes and getting crazy highlights is not pure luck, pure chance or luck, right? It's calculated. It's like really calculated risk.
It has to be if you're gonna like be as consistent of a player. Like if you're one of the best players in the region, it's not lucky that you're finding all these timings and making impact plays all the time. So yeah, I see what you mean with that.
Yeah, so that's kind of the thing where it's like, I think with the players that Tyloo currently has, because every player takes up space in the team, and right now somebody has no space to do what he wants, because the rounds are going down to slowly with 3 entries, Dan King with sick clutch, or attacker with some crazy headshots, So I think somebody doesn't has the space he wants like to have in the team. I've seen it happen in teams, like many teams. Like a good example is Alex back when he was in boot with like last year's boot, the Vice, Flashkey, Bankai, Bulbasaur, Alex, right? He has no space. He literally has to go and die for his team, and that showed on his stats. That's what's going on with somebody right now. It's showing on his stats. He's having like really bad games. So yeah, I think it's a space and a system problem within the Tyloo team. So everything what Pilski said, basically, just a bit of thoughts from myself as a player.
Definitely be interesting to sort of dive a bit more deep into that discussion, but we don't have a huge amount of time. So I'm going to move things away from Weibo Cup here. Maybe there's a future episode in there where we sort of break down Tyloo a little bit more in depth. If anyone's interested, they can let us know in the YouTube comments. So obviously, Tyloo, Vici didn't perform well. BTRG, IG, and Tiger, I think, are the real sort of thumbs up from me as far as Weibo Cup is concerned. TyCS and Tyloo and Vici get a thumbs down from me. So I don't want to touch too much on TyCS. We're kind of going to talk about that a little bit here as we move now into the Dreamhack discussion as well. I know we sort of spoke a little bit about this in the last episode, but I think it's pretty valuable to get impressions inside as well, particularly on the Asian side of things. But there are a few sort of developing updates, I guess, when it comes to ANZ as well. I think it makes sense to start off with Asia here. So obviously, for anyone that hasn't been paying attention, it's Tyloo, Vici, Lucid, and Beyond that are going to be playing in this Dreamhack event. And what's interesting right now is that Lucid have obviously just removed the 2 Koreans from their roster. And you're starting to think, okay, who are they going to replace them with? And when are they going to replace them? Because Dreamhack starts on July 2nd. They were playing, I thought I saw somewhere that they were playing with Foxes and 789, which makes sense, right? 2 Thai players. But I couldn't actually, when I went back and had a look, I couldn't actually find that game where they did actually play that game. So maybe I'm just like making it up. Maybe I dreamt it. But let's start from the top here, impression, right? With these results that Tyloo and Vici have gotten in Weibo Cup, do you see them potentially being susceptible in Dreamhack? Or are they just going to wipe the floor with TyCS? Like, is TyCS as dead as we maybe make it out to be on this podcast?
Well, okay, first of all, I think Lucid is playing with 789 Foxes, yeah, in the Imba TV Development League or
Yeah,
Professional
it must have been something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I know about it because Genius told me about it. And they actually want to get cigarettes and someone else, I think, but they can't because Genius played in a mixed team called Jigadude for the qualifiers, so they actually couldn't get those players to play in like Dreamhack Master Spring for them. So, but 789 Foxes are like fundamentally sound players. I don't think there's anything wrong with them, but the thing is kind of like, I think Lucid isn't doing too well ever since they lost the Koreans. I mean, of course, you lose like 40% of your roster, you're not going to do well, right?
I mean, even with the Koreans, arguably they weren't doing that well.
Yeah, but I kind of think that was a bit of like, I think a loss of spirit and passion in their team.
Did they know that the Koreans were leaving already? Like when Road to Rio was happening, for example?
Okay, at least from what I heard, okay, they were devastated when they won the minor, and then they changed the entire minor system.
I mean, you would be, right?
Yeah. So I mean, I think from then on it was just kind of like a downward spiral, and like fucking Valorant coming out was another thing, and it kind of just like prodded them to hey, Counter-Strike, we like literally like so unluco, like you just want to get out, right? So shit happened. Lucid's not doing too well right now. They have like 2 stand-ins. I don't know what they're gonna do like in the future, in the long term. And Beyond hasn't been doing too good ever since they changed their lineup. Adding QQ should have been like an upgrade, removing Foxes and adding QQ, but for some reason they just don't seem to be performing. And I guess whether or not Tyloo and Vici fails, it's like I don't think Vici will, because Advent has a good system to prevent like big upsets. You don't usually see Vici losing to like really teams that they should be like winning. It's not a common thing.
I mean, I guess in
But
fairness,
when-
like when you look at the Weibo results, they did lose to Tiger in the quarterfinal. So if they draw like any of these other teams, there's a good chance that they make it through at least to the semis.
I mean, we didn't really cover it very much, but it's not like Vici played that bad in Weibo. Like,
Yeah.
they lost a very close
Yeah.
series to Tiger. The only, like, crazy weird result that happened is they lost to 1-3 in Swiss. That's the only, like, crazy thing that happened. So it's not like they particularly played bad in that tournament.
Yep.
Tyloo as well. I mean, they beat RG and D13, which are two teams that went pretty deep in the tournament, or at least made it to the playoffs. So as far as a run going 3-0 over teams like that, that's not like too bad of a performance at all.
So basically what you're saying is you're not too concerned for the two Chinese rosters going into DreamHack then?
Oh, it's a two-team group. I don't know what Impression thinks, but in my mind, it's a two-team group. You know, there's no way that the Thai teams, unless Beyond brings some form that I haven't seen from them with this roster, and I agree they are underperforming like crazy with this roster. This roster should be like the team that actually puts Thai CS in a good spot to challenge, because you know they. With those old Lucid Dream teams, they with the PTC and the CBBK and some of the other lads, with a full Thai roster, you know, going back to the old Asia Pro League and stuff like that, they were actually challenging some of these teams, some of these Chinese teams, but they've really been underperforming with this roster. I agree that QQ was a good addition, and he should have brought something good to that team. As for Lucid, I almost kind of feel more confident in Lucid than I do in Beyond with the two players that they've added, because I don't think that these players are gonna blow anybody away, but they're not gonna, you know, suck too hard. And I think honestly PTC is in pretty ridiculous form right now. Like you saw it in the Road to Rio, he was legit banging everyone. It's crazy. So I think if he brings that same level of form, and the other two guys like CBBK keeps everybody's head screwed on, I think that maybe they could, you know, do something. But I don't expect either of the Thai teams to beat the Chinese teams. I just think it's straight up a two-team group.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much on the same train of thought as you as well. And I hope we do get to see that Tyloo and Vici grand final. Like, I feel like we kind of missed out a little bit with what happened in Road to Rio, where they ended up in the semi-final, and we kind of had a bit of like this weird semi-final sort of thing going on there, and Vici didn't perform as well as they should have. So, look, there's still a potential chance that we get a good, I'd say at least grand final out of the Asia group, but I have to tend to agree with you that it does look like a bit of a two-horse race here. And I saw you sort of nodding along there as well, Impression, so it seems like you kind of are on the same train of thought as us.
Yeah, because I kind of think that like, because Vici is playing Lucid, so Lucid's playing with two stand-ins. Vici is not gonna drop that. Beyond's having bad form. Tyloo is a chugging aim train, high on Mountain Dew and Red Bull. Like it's crazy, right?
No
So-
pressure. I mean, we heard it. I don't know if you were watching Road to Rio at all, Impression, but we asked their coach how they turned that series around, and he basically, I mean, not in these exact words, but he basically said, "Just have fun, forehead," and out aim them, no pressure. So
So yeah, I think Tyloo Vici upper brackets, Lucid Beyond lower brackets, and whoever fights Lucid and Beyond, they're just not gonna do too well, because between Tyloo and Vici, they have a clash of styles. It's kind of like when Vici plays against Tiger, right? I think it's a clash of styles. So Vici kind of has like problems starting their engine and getting into the game and finishing games off, because Tiger is like crazy. So that's probably gonna happen with Lucy and Beyond. I don't think they're gonna get much of a chance to get their game going. Because these Chinese teams, they have two styles that really shuts down teams that are not supposed to win against them. Yeah, so yeah, same mindset here with you guys.
All right. So then, I guess as we sort of wind down the discussion for the Asia side of things, let's just get your thoughts, Pilsky. Who's going to win, Tyloo or Vici?
oh,
Or do you want me to go first? And then, you know, it doesn't seem like I'm
look,
copying you every time.
It bites me in the ass every time, but I really want Vici to win.
Yeah.
To be honest, the thing is, I still haven't seen, especially in Weibo with some of the results, I still haven't seen enough from Tyloo for me to believe that they're actually starting an upward trajectory or they're improving that much. But at the same time, they just have this weird matchup advantage versus Vici, where they win games that you don't expect them to win. Like, I don't know what the hell happened in Road to Rio. Like, I literally, I'm the one who casted it, watching it unfold before my eyes, and I was just the whole time thinking, what the fuck is this? So, look, I'm hoping that Vici doesn't capitulate like they did in Road to Rio, and they can actually win this one. Not only would that satisfy me, but it also make the region as a whole a little bit more interesting, so that my analysis doesn't turn into, well, Vici's playing Tyloo in the grand final, so we all know what's going to happen. I want to see them actually get a win on the board.
What about you, Impression? Are you a Vici man or a Tyloo man?
Yeah, I'm a Vici man.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm gonna support my brother from Malaysia, Kaze.
Mhm.
That's one thing. And another thing is also I tend to prefer Counter-Strike with a bit of sense, because I'm not saying Tyloo doesn't make sense, but the way Tyloo plays, they reach the end of the line like really quick,
Mhm.
and they eventually have to like hop on another train, not the aim no pressure train, and just play, right? They have to eventually find like a good system that Evan has going for Vici for the past 3 years, with like 4 of the same players like this entire time, and they're solid. Like, they have their foundations built well, they have their bases covered, they have everything they need to be a winning team, except for sometimes you see like underperformance from Alman or Evan, or maybe Zokin going too crazy. Stuff like that is kind of why I think Vici is failing at times. But I still kind of believe in their system as a team. So I'm looking forward to seeing them prove it, like that a system will win a team that has no system and has like pure talent and skill and aim. And that's Pili was talking about it, right? Like, ah, I have bad stats, and that's the reason why I have bad stats. I'm in the back throwing flashes, and sometimes if
Sure, man.
my mates in front don't get the kill, I'm gonna be in like a 2v5.
Whatever
I'm
You're
gonna go in
makes
and
you
preaching to
die,
sick,
the
man.
mate.
choir impression. You're preaching to the choir, mate. Like, legit. That's my entire career. And then also you're talking about the roster instability and roster problems. Legit, before like nationals and LAN tournaments, we change players and stuff like that. So I know exactly where you're coming from, mate. Obviously, a lot shitter of a player than you, but I know exactly where.
All right, well, that's probably a good segue then, speaking of roster changes, to talk a little bit about ANZ. Now, I don't think we'll spend too much time talking about this because for the most part, it's quite cut and dry. I hope you can't hear the ice cream truck in the background as I talk here, but we have an ice cream truck epidemic where I live right now. Anyway, so what's happened, obviously, is we've started ANZ Champs last night. Pili and I, we casted Renegades. They looked fine. No real concerns there. We're going to see Order and Avant playing their first games of ANZ Champs tonight. By the time this releases, which will be Thursday night, we will know the results of that game. So maybe there'll be some conclusions to draw from that if there's a weird upset or something like that. But I can't imagine there's going to be too much to talk about when it comes to Renegades, Avant, and Order. We've seen it all. We saw Road to Rio. It should really just be a bit of a reset for the majority of those. Obviously, Avant didn't play in Road to Rio, but they should have. So that's going to be the main storyline for them coming in there, just to kind of prove, like, okay, you know what? We actually did deserve to be in Road to Rio, and, like, fuck you for not letting us come. But what I think is probably the most interesting thing for us to talk about right now, and the only real thing to touch on for ANZ at the moment, is that Chiefs roster change. Now, Pilsky, on the last episode, we sort of theorized that Yam would actually be playing. Now it seems like Soju's been put into that roster as opposed to Yam. Yam's still going to be coaching. And I looked on the Liquipedia page here for Dreamhack, and it does still say Vexite, but I'm like 99% sure Vexite can't play because he's not old enough. So, I mean, does that make much of a difference? Like, is Soju coming into this roster over Yam like a good thing, a bad thing? Do you really care? Does it matter? What's the expectation for Chiefs even going into this tournament? Because in reality, with a roster change like this, you can't be expecting much more than fourth.
Oh, I mean, well, what are they doing? They might use Jinx or Skull or something like that in
They
that
have to,
case.
yeah.
If that's, I mean, we don't know 100% what's happening, but I mean, in most of the scenarios, I don't think it's gonna particularly be a fantastic thing for them, whoever they use. I think Soju is an okay addition. I think Zeph is a good addition. I've already been over that, and I think I don't know much about Vexite, but if he can sort of step up to the plate and play pretty well, then that could be good for the Chiefs roster. As for this tournament, I almost give them like a underdog chance, like to actually take a series off somebody, just due to the fact that people aren't really super familiar with how they play, and if they just let loose and classic, just don't let the pressure get to them, they don't really have anything to lose and just out aim some people. They have the talent to be able to win some of these games.
What do you think, Impression? Like, do you keep up with ANZ Counter-Strike all that much? Like, is there much that you want to have to say about this ANZ group, or?
Actually, I think I don't have that much to say because I don't keep up that much either. But I do keep up with the Renegades and all the, and for at least for the Chiefs and the lineup change. I mean, Soju's a friend of mine, and I know he can do great things, but I'm not sure. I'm just not a fan of roster changes at the end of the day because
Gee, I wonder why.
that shit happens to me all the time, right? So yeah, I guess honestly, it's just gonna be kind of. It feels like for me when I look at just the teams they're playing and the lineups, I would just say that it would just be Renegades against Order again and see who chokes harder. Like that was that 12-3 Inferno game like 2.5 weeks ago,
That
right?
was, yeah.
With Renegades and Order, yeah. I mean, it sucks to see, but that's kind of what domestic lineups can do, right? Like domestic matchups, sorry, we do to each other. Like you go crazy on each other, or you show something crazy to the rest of the world.
All right. Well, I mean, hopefully we do get to see a pretty good grand final. I find it interesting that a lot of like, I'm going to call you international Impression, right? Because you're not from ANZ, right? So when I talk about domestic and international people, Pilsky and I in this discussion are the domestic people. I find it interesting, like that when we're talking like domestically within ANZ, right? We always kind of consider Avant as like a strong contender for second place. But when we talk to these international people, so Impression, Bleh, Nick, all these kind of guys seem to kind of rate Order a little bit more. And I think that might just be because Order performed better in the minor qualifier and therefore got the invite into Road to Rio. And people haven't quite seen that much from Avant yet, at least on these sort of bigger stages. So I do think that like for anyone that's watching this and is maybe from Asia, doesn't keep up with ANZ quite as much and thinks it's going to be Order just straight through to the grand final, I wouldn't necessarily believe that at this point. I'd be interested to see how Avant does go. I mean, theoretically, there is definitely a world where Order could just blitz Avant and go straight through to that grand final. That is definitely possible. But I don't think it's as cut and dry to say that Order is definitely going to be the second place team. So it'll be interesting to see what Avant can do here. And this is the opportunity, I think, for Avant to kind of prove that they did deserve to be at the Road to Rio and that they do deserve to be within that top 1-2 kind of discussion. Anyway, there's not that much really to talk on for ANZ. So I think we might as well just move into the chat shit segment. It's going to be a bit of a shorter episode today because there isn't that much going on. And I think now's probably a good time to say that there won't be an episode next week because we'll be casting Road to Rio. We'll be casting Dreamhack. So Pilsky and I definitely won't have much time outside of that. But the following week we'll have, a big episode to sort of talk about what happened in Dreamhack. So make sure you watch Dreamhack and kind of support that because I think it's really important that people sort of come out in droves and watch the Asian and ANZ Counter-Strike. Anyway, enough with the Dreamhack discussion. Let's talk to Impression about all the things that we are interested in particular about BTRG, because this is kind of what we do when we have an interesting guest. We pepper some questions at them. Pilsky, I don't know if you've got any questions here for him, but feel free to let me know if you do. And you can chime in here or there. But the first one that I wanted to kind of start off with, and this is kind of like an inflammatory topic, is why does BTRG suck? Because on paper, you guys have this sick roster, right? You got Excurate, you got Zion. I mean, yourself, you've got a lot of experience. You were in probably the best Southeast Asia team when you were in Boot for the better part of a couple of years. So you're a pretty experienced IGL. And obviously you've had all these roster changes, but like, even still, should this team not be one that can kind of compete pretty well within the domestic Southeast Asia scene at least? Like, because up to this point, we haven't actually seen any good results from you guys.
I think, okay, obviously the reason why BTRG sucks is because of the roster changes. And that in itself has many complications because the roster changes isn't just like, for example, if I was in a ANZ team, if I had to change a new guy or two new guys to come in, they wouldn't have issues like communication. They wouldn't have issues like ping, or maybe a bit of ping issues because you have Perth and Sydney, right? You're like
It's not as
like
big of
far
a
away.
deal as it is in Asia.
Yeah. you also wouldn't have issues with culture, because that's something that you have to factor in when you have 5 guys that essentially spend like 8 hours together every day. And I think mainly is the lineup changes. That's why we suck. And to explain further, like to delve a bit more deeper into this topic, would be like, we don't have the best of communication as a team, because obviously we are so-called international roster. Except for me, no one else is a native English speaker. I have the Indonesians, I have the Thai, I have the Korean right now, right? So communications, okay, if you watch our games, you do see us blow up crazy rounds, 1v3s, 2v1s, and you watch it and you're like, what the fuck are they doing? Like that's what I feel when I look at some of our rounds. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? And it just really, this type of things tend to blow up if you don't have enough practice, and if you keep changing lineups, you keep changing a system and everything. I think that's why we suck. It's mainly the roster change. Even no matter how good of me, Kevin, or Zion can be, we will suck because we will have a communication error, or maybe at times we're just not that motivated, because it's like, oh shit, we're going through this shit again. That really gets on you as a player. And so you can see really bad games from Zion and Xcurate as well.
Definitely.
They're not Counter-Strike is a team game, right? When we win, it's not because of 2 players doing really good. When we win, it's because the 5 players are doing very good. And when we lose, it could be 1 player doing really bad and 4 players doing okay. And that 1 player could be anybody. It could be Xcurate, it could be Zion, it could be me, it could be Genius, it could be Eeyore. It doesn't matter. It's a team game. So that's why we suck, because we haven't had a complete and proper team in, I think maybe 8 months. I think. Or maybe like close to 3/4 of a year already, like 9 months, I think.
Okay, so then
Yeah,
I think that's a good
changes.
way for us to like talk about these roster changes then. And we'll get into the discussion about the current roster that you have as well. But before we do that, the question sort of, you do beg the question, right? When you look at the BTRG roster, if you look on Liquidpedia, and you just look at all the roster changes that you've even had in 2020, it's absolutely unbelievable. So I just went through and I wrote them all down.
Musical chairs, mate.
It is literally musical chairs. Can I just say, since the start of 2020, okay, Eeyore left the team, and then he rejoined the team. Zwin joined and then was benched and then left. Hey B joined and then was benched and then left. Dreamer left the team. Adrenking returned to the team, so that means he was already on the team at one point, and then he was also benched and left. And now Genius is in the team as well. So like, you've got like 4 or 5 different players that have come into the roster, and then like a month later they've just left the roster again. And in some cases even they've previously been on the roster before this. So what the fuck is going on?
Are you a fan of basketball impression? Is that what's happening here? We're just we need to sit someone down on the bench for a little while and then let him back on.
Hey, even Michael Jordan couldn't play 40, 46 minutes, right? 48
Yeah.
minutes, sorry.
There you go. I mean, that's one map of Counter-Strike. You need how many? 15 players?
I think like 11 players, I think.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, Karaf's gonna join my team.
Oh, that would be a big mistake. I've seen Karath play. Like he makes Asian, the most weaponized Asian aim trained players look highly.
Well, okay. I think this roster change thing started last year, right? Like, oh shit, man, I can't even remember. But okay, Zwin came in on trial, to wait. Let me think. Okay, when Fates left, that was when we kind of had started like the real musical chairs of roster changes. Zwin came in. He was supposed to take over. I can't remember who. I think Eeyore. And I think a lot of this was like stuff that I couldn't decide, because it was like huge. It was all like,
I mean, I think
moves
in
made
like
by my
Dreamer's case,
organization, right?
like Dreamer would have gone to Weibo, right? So that at
Yeah,
least is
yeah.
there.
Okay, let's just clear up start of 2020. Fuck the rest of the shit. I'm too confused to actually remember and think about it. But when Zwin and Hebi came, they were in the lineup. They were playing the Asian minor qualifier with us, I think. And then that after that tournament, Zirin was benched. Heibi got benched before that tournament. Like to really go into details, like 2 weeks before the Asian minor, Heibi told us that he doesn't have confidence in himself as a player, and he requested to be benched because he just came back from PUBG, right? And during practice and everything, like I was like a dictator in practice. I was crazy because Heibi did some really unacceptable things that I couldn't like really understand, like comprehend coming from a Counter-Strike player. So like I was really tough for him. I think I affected his confidence a lot, and he requested to be benched. And Adrian was standing in for us because Adrian's always been on the bench, ever since Zirin joined. So Adrian stood in for us. Heibi was benched. After the Asian minor, Zirin was playing with us for a bit, and then eventually he was benched as well. And Dreamer came in. So at one point of time, I think sometime in March, I think the play from home tournament, we were playing with the lineup of me, Zain, Xcret, Dreamer, and Marek. Marek was a stand-in.
Yep.
Because Marek at that time was actually forming up the Weibo team, so he was free to stand in with us. And we needed someone to, really be able to hold himself as a player and just like pull through for us, and he did. So I'm crazy thankful for that. After the play from home tournament, Marek, who was going to do the Weibo team, spoke to Dreamer, and Dreamer left. So I think no bad blood there. Like I mean,
You
Dreamer
gotta,
made a
yeah.
choice for himself.
Yep.
Yeah, I understand. And Weibo is big, right? Like they just hosted the tournament. They're gonna make a team now. I think their lineup is gonna be pretty alright. Then so Dreamer left. So that was kind of where we were. Me, Zain, and Xcret, we were kind of like we're in the gutters, right? Like we don't have two players again. There is no Chinese player for us to take, and that was where I kind of spoke to my boss, and I'm like, hey, this is not gonna work out if you don't let us get the players that we want to get. And I told him like every time I suggested a player, we eventually showed up with some form of result. And I think kind of at that point he trusted us. He trusted me at least, and we took Eeyore and Adrian back, for about a week. And that was where I suggested like to the rest of the team, I think we should give someone else a try, because I think it's a bit tough for us to play when we have three Indonesians, because they're speaking in their language a lot. So sometimes that kind of ruins the flow of the game for me and for themselves, and actually even for Zion, I think. So that's kind of when I thought I spoke to Genius, like, because I've always had my eye on Genius. I'll be completely honest. Genius, like, there were games when I was in boot where Genius would come into B side on cash and just give all our asses a good poking, and then just and we would have to leave the server.
I
Like that was
remember
what Genius
exactly
did
what
to
you're
us.
talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, that was what Genius would do to us. So I've always had my eye on him as a player. And that's what kind of where I spoke to him. I'm like, hey, do you want to try this out? Because I know Genius speaks good English, for
Right.
someone coming from Thailand, because many people from Thailand do not speak English,
Yep.
or do not speak it well. But Genius speaks good English. I spoke to him. I said, hey, let's try it out. See if he's interested. He said okay. So yeah, that's kind of where we got to this point. Like about a month ago, we started playing together, and so far it's been pretty alright, I think. So yeah, roster changes. Why so many? Not my not my fault. Not my problem. My problem,
definitely your
definitely not
problem.
my fault. Yeah, definitely my problem. Not my fault. I don't know why. Also, I very tired of it lah. Really, I very tired of it.
All right.
But
So is this like
yeah,
the
right
core
now,
five
okay.
that you're going to try and like actually make work? Like you said, Genius was on trial for the Weibo Cup. So, I mean, I don't know if you want to make any like quote unquote announcements or anything like that. I'm not asking for that. But are things looking like pretty good with this roster? Is this where you see things going in the rest of 2020 with BTRG?
I think we're gonna give it a bit more time, because the Weibo Cup was kind of like, we started at a really like shit percentage of what we actually should be playing at, and we kind of scaled throughout the tournament. So what I look at as 80% could be 100. So I'm really not sure. So I'm gonna give it a bit more time. And for at least for the rest of the year, I think I'm confident that at least the four of us are gonna stay together. Probably me, Eeyore, Zine, Execute, because I think we have a good system. Eeyore has been in the team, in and out of the team for quite a while, so he understands how I want to play, how everybody else wants to play. As for Genius, I think Genius is good. He complements us well, but we also need more time to figure it out because we still have like these crazy rounds where we lose just purely because of communication, and that might be a hindrance for us in future. But I don't know. We'll see. In time.
Well, I'm going to ask one more question here, and then maybe Pilsky can jump in with something, because I know you've been a bit quiet, Pilsky. I don't want to cut you out of the conversation. What are you guys even like playing in at the moment? Because I guess now that Weibo Cup's over, you obviously haven't qualified for Dreamhack Spring. We haven't seen you on Road to Rio. You've been playing in like a lot of Chinese kind of tournaments, but for a Western audience, like even for myself, it's kind of crazy to think that I've never cast a BTRG game. With the amount of Asian CS that I cast, it seems almost unbelievable. So is there anything kind of good coming up for you guys, or is it just sort of these Chinese tournaments that are popping up here and there?
It's still just the Chinese tournaments. There's 2 more Chinese tournaments in the month of June. So
Right.
those are going to be like Russian cast and Chinese casted.
But no English cast.
And well, the problem with us is we're kind of bad with the timing. So like we lose like Dreamhack Spring Asia qualifiers that was held on ESCA was I think 16th of April or 17th of April, like around those dates. That's literally where Dreamer and Marek left.
Yeah.
So we didn't have a roster to play for those. So I don't know. We just kind of unlucky with timings as well as the rosters thing.
Like if they moved the qualifier to today, I think those two Thai teams probably don't qualify. We'd probably see someone like Tiger and BTRG as the next 2 teams that go through, and would have made it a bit more interesting for Dreamhack. But anyway, I guess it is what it is. Well, here we go, Pilsky. It's your turn to have a bit of a chit chat with Impression. I'll just sit here and look pretty.
He's already answered one of my questions, which was I just wanted to ask about Genius. So I guess I'll phrase things in a different way. What I'm curious about is to pick your brain about your own team. I think everyone's pretty familiar with you, Zine and Execute. So what I really want to know is, I don't know if you've ever watched Shark Tank or anything like that. I want you to sell me Genius and Eeyore as to why they're good players to have on your team, and act like you're trying to sell the audience these players. And then after that, I want you to tell us a little bit about how BTRG is supposed to work as a roster. Like, what's the dream scenario for BTRG? Who's playing well? Who's doing what?
I'll just chime in here before you go, Impression, and give you some context, right? Pilsky wants to know what he's supposed to say on a broadcast to make BTRG sound like a sick team. So he wants you to tell him exactly what Eeyore and Genius do, so that he can look smart.
What, Jordan? It's so much easier when I basically just have confirmation bias, because literally everything that Impression said about Genius, I was like, oh, it's not just me.
Yeah.
Legit watching him in like Beyond and like Signature.
And now, if anyone calls you out, you just go, look at this.
Yeah,
Impression said so too.
Just go in with an AK, like most mechanically gifted young Thai player I've ever seen, just absolutely shitting on people. You love to. So yeah, what do you have to say? Sell us these players and tell us a bit about how the team's supposed to work at your ideal 100.
Well, okay. First of all, not taking any kind of credit or effort to the past players that I've worked with. But Eeyore and Genius have some of the best work ethics I think I've ever played with, I've ever practiced with. Like, these 2 guys are crazy about learning and becoming better, and they're really good characters to work with. Like, they're fun to talk to. Everything. Like, they are good teammates, really good teammates. Like, and I think they both have like this potential and this talent to do so much in Counter-Strike, but they just never really had that much of a chance to prove themselves. Like, Eeyore has always played as an entry fragger, like he's a sole entry fragger. Yeah, he may not be the best entry fragger in the world, but he gets the job done. Even if he has 11 kills and 21 deaths, I can assure he's gonna have 6 assists, and it's because he goes 3 hits on the guy before his trade fragger comes in. So Eeyore has always had this like potential, but because the statistics looks bad, and stuff like that. He's always like he's kind of just like underrated, I guess. Like honestly, that's what I feel. But he has crazy work ethics. He's always trying to improve himself. Like I work with them, I know. And for Genius is he's gifted, he's talented as fuck. Like really, like he has a good game.
Mechanically
And
gifted.
yeah, he definitely is. And he works hard to make himself play even better than what he's currently playing at. And him coming into my team, he told me, right, I've never tried anything like this before. I've always played in Thai teams. I want to give it a try. I want to see how it goes. He comes into the team. He has like limited English vocabulary and stuff, and he's talking like 24/7. He's talking. He's always talking. He's like, I think we need to do this. I think we need to do that. And it's something that like he's cultivated in Thai CS, where before Thai CS had like strict in-game leaders. Your entry fragger is leading. That's genius. And he kind of brought that to our team. There's games where he kind of just takes over. We're doing a default. He takes over as the caller. He's like, I'm gonna take the control like this. Follow me. Right? So I think he's like someone that has so much potential. The reason why Eeyore and Genius is in BTRG right now is because one, they work really, really hard, and two, they have so much potential to be better players, and they have so much potential to be in a good team if we are given the right circumstances, like the right situations to work with, we're given the right support. These two guys they will shine, and I'm 100% sure that right now, with the recent tournament results and how we've been practicing and playing, you see, even the police is on me now. Like, so yeah,
Yeah.
I think these two guys are gonna go crazy in Asia,
Well,
because they have good work ethics
Everyone's going to
and
think you're
they want
crazy,
to
by
learn.
the
Yeah.
way, because I just muted my mic on the recording. So you guys heard it in Discord, but no one on the broadcast heard it.
okay. I also just wanted to know, we've seen a lot of Indonesian players in this lineup. And obviously Eeyore used to be on Wrecker and stuff like that with Bentet and Old Mate Extra, etc. We're not seeing any super amazing Indonesian teams as of late. So is Excurit keeping the Indonesian scene alive by himself now that Bentet's flown the coop a bit, or is it a bit of a group committee as to picking up all of these Indonesian players like a Dren King and Eeyore and stuff, rather than going for a different nationality? Because you touched on there being too many Indonesians before a little bit.
I think it's okay. First of all, about the Indonesian scene is that I think it's kind of like the Korean scene, but it's not Valorant that's killing it. It's PUBG Mobile. It's Mobile
Ah.
Legends. It's all the mobile games that you will probably not want to touch if you're a PC gamer. That's like kind of taking over the gaming scene there, because it's cheap to get a phone, but if you need to get a monitor, PC, keyboard, mouse, everything to be competitive, it's kind of Indonesia is not, economically speaking, too well advanced, I think. So and I think that's kind of why like the competitive scene in Indonesia is not that good. I've been to the LAN centers in Indonesia as well, and they have like pretty old spec PCs, can't really deal with Counter Strike too well. So yeah, there's not much of a Counter Strike culture going on in Indonesia right now. So Kevin would probably be the only guy keeping it together. There are still a lot of players. There are a lot of players, but there's no real reason for them to make a team and try their best to get organization support from like any organization, because even the organizations in Indonesia don't do it. Boom is now supporting a Brazilian team. I mean, that says a lot, right? Like native Indonesian esports organization buying out like a Brazilian team in Counter Strike. So yeah, in Indonesia scene is non-existent. It's kind of sad to see because they're really great players. I mean, like some of the best players are going elsewhere. Like Jason Forsaken, Blaze, Golden Child is now in the Weibo team. Mind Freak is in Paper X. Obviously I have Xcured and Eeyore. So yeah, they have good players. They just don't have a reason to make a good team together and go far, like have like a target in mind or goal in mind. So
So,
that's kind of sad. Yeah.
did you have anything else, Pilski? Or should I take
Oh,
over?
just give me maybe like a minute or two of like ideal. You've already touched on it a little bit, but ideal like BTRG. you're smashing Vici like 12-3 on T side. What's happening? Like who's playing well? Obviously, you said that Eeyore and Genius are more aggressive players. We all know Zion's like a bit of a lurk superstar. You're like the supportive player. You have a couple different people putting input in. Is it preparation based? Is it mid round reads that's getting you successes? Who's playing well individually?
I think everybody's gonna play well individually if you want if you're smashing Vici. Like I would say everybody has like 10 to 12 kills. I'm on 5 with like 30 flash assists. I fun fact, right? In the Weibo playoffs, if you look at the statistics on HLTV, I had like all the top flash statistics, I think. So
Oh, okay, mate. We all know you're just on
yeah,
barrage.
so
You're throwing it over Palace every round, and you're saying,
yeah. I'm just sitting there holding a flashbang. Guys, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Yeah.
Send me. Genius,
Yeah,
send me.
go.
I'm gonna one tap him.
Flashbang! Go! And they're like, and Genius just starts running, you know.
You gotta hold him back for a couple seconds to get him keen for it. It's like a bunch of racing dogs or something.
Yeah, you're gonna have like the engine starting and it's revving, and the flash goes out, boom! He's like, bah, 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 and he's goes all the way in, right? So yeah,
There you go.
So yeah, if you're doing good, I think it's a team effort. My team has a culture to study the opponent. Every time before we play, everybody sits down like 3 hours before match time, and we're looking at a demo together. Discord is so useful now. I can stream my screen and tell them, guys, this guy does this. We got to do this to kill him, and everybody understands. Okay, this is what I'm gonna do. Kill this guy. Like for example, one of the things we did against Tiger on the T side of Nuke, our T side of Nuke, was that we knew that Cabo likes to solo ramp. So he kind of went there a lot, and just put it to him, like, hey, you're not gonna get this control like alone for free. And my entire team understood this because we all sit down and we work hard and we try our best to win teams. So if we're gonna go stomping any team that's like so-called tier 1 Asia, it's gonna be a team effort, man. I don't think it's gonna be like crazy from one guy. I know Zion has games where he's like 20 kills above everyone else. Kevin has games where it's like 15. He's out opping the opper that doesn't exist on their team because he doesn't even have money to get ops because he's just killing it every time. But I think if we're gonna smash a good team, it's gonna be a team effort for sure. Everybody's gonna be fragging. I think I do decent in the fragging department as well for IGL in Asia. So yeah, we're all gonna do good if we're gonna win a good team.
Cool. All right. I found it interesting how you were sort of talking about the Indonesian CS scene, and I kind of wanted to pick your brain a little bit on the greater Asian scene as a whole, because that's a topic that we've been talking about a lot on these podcasts. I know you watch a little bit, so you might have already heard our thoughts. But we look at Valorant and we say that's going to be pretty rough for the CS region, the Korean CS region, and it clearly already has been. It's almost killed the Korean CS scene. And you look at the sort of rise of these mobile games, which is massive in Southeast Asia. The likes of Indonesia, for example, Philippines, Vietnam, India, like all of these regions. So do you kind of feel like Asian CS is in a bit of a rough spot, like how it's been, I'd say, more affected by COVID-19 than any other region?
I think honestly, my opinion on this is that gaming is like a universal thing, right? Some people might not agree that mobile gamers are gamers, but in their own sense they are. Whether or not they delve into like PC gaming is entirely up to them. But I don't think Asia Counter-Strike is gonna necessarily like just disappear, because there is like a time, there's a like amount of foundation there that's already set. I mean, there's guys like the two of you who are covering Counter-Strike all the time, and I don't think you guys are gonna go anywhere anytime soon. And that goes for the rest of Asia as well. There's people like me trying really hard to get Asia out on the global scene. There's people like Zion, for example, is someone who really wants to go to a major. Xcure loves Counter-Strike. Like in my team, everybody loves Counter-Strike, and we're just one of the many teams in Asia. Maybe new talents won't come up as far. They won't come up as like there's gonna be far and few, right? There's not gonna be a lot of them because maybe someone that's gonna be like the Zaiwu of Asia is actually playing PUBG Mobile. Yeah.
I mean, I guess you
shit
could
like that
argue
could happen.
Bentet's already playing in Gen G if we're going to take that sort of train of thought, right?
Yeah. So like the talent Asia is not gonna be like the talent farm. Not including ANZ, right? Because you guys I'm not gonna talk about ANZ. I'm just not too knowledgeable about it. So Asia is not gonna be like a huge talent farm, but Counter Strike is definitely gonna stay around, I think. And but the state of it right now is that the tournaments are all being played online, which honestly is good because more teams get more chances at playing against better teams. And it depends on how the top few teams go about improving, because I think like Tiger right now is gonna take like 2 Europeans. That's gonna, like what I mentioned earlier in the podcast, is that like what's gonna happen if Tiger really does take like 2 European players is that it's gonna really like force everyone to really, really improve. And that's like the best case scenario, like in Asia, that we get some outside influence to come into our scene and then really like push it upwards, because they already have something that's like well established. Like Europe has the best Counter-Strike scene. Nobody can argue with that, right? So like if these players with like a plethora of experience comes into Asia and they bring their knowledge and everything into Asia, and everybody looks at it and they understand that this is what we got to do to become better, and everybody works on it, I think it's gonna be okay. Like Asia scene is gonna like, go up. But if that doesn't happen, the problem about Asia is that we look at a European team's demo, we look at Australia's demo, Vitality's demo, Mousesport's demo, but we don't understand what they're doing. We're just copying what they're doing. We don't understand it because we might be throwing a flash, but why are you throwing a flash specifically this way? Why are you throwing a smoke specifically this way? You sometimes players in Asia don't understand. They just do it, and that's the problem with Asia right now, I think. If we do get a outside influence to get better, I think we'll go crazy, because Asian people have like crazy work ethics. If you can do it well, an Asian guy can do it better than you. I always believe in that.
You just need to teach him how to
So
do it.
yeah, so that's the thing. If the current state of Asia CS is not that good, everything's unstable. Rosters are weird. Players, teams are not like playing correct Counter Strike, I think. But players are good. Players are really good. Just need the right direction to head towards, and I think we'll be okay.
Cool. Would you go to Valorant if CS died?
If CS died, maybe. I I might just go back to some other bullshit game I played like before I started Counter Strike again. But if CS died and Valorant's the next best thing, I guess you kind of don't have a choice, right?
What about Crossfire?
But if
Have you ever played Crossfire?
nah, that shit's like so old, man.
No, they're bringing
I
a
don't
new
even
one out. There's like Crossfire
shit.
2 or Crossfire HD or some shit. I
You know,
cast Crossfire, by the way.
Crossfire is so it's so weird. Like how like the opping mechanics for Crossfire, when you pick an angle, is that you jump, you land, and you shoot. So that's how you play Crossfire, right? There's no like that's what the oppa does. You jump, you land, you shoot. Like that's like the weirdest thing ever for like a mechanic for FPS game. There's no like someone flashing for you, or there's no like crazy more little mechanical details like your teammates AD, you throw a flash, you pick, he's gonna be baited. No stuff like that, right? So that's kind of what makes Counter Strike so unique, so fun. So if CS dies, yeah, I think I'll go to Valorant. But if CS is still around, I think even right now Valorant is a no go for me. I haven't touched it yet at all.
Is that just
I have
because you're
friends
not
playing it.
Korean or like?
I think I'm just not that interested, because I feel like the mechanics are not that meant to be for Counter Strike.
Sure.
Or
So, but why
players
do you
using
think then
Counter-Strike.
like all of the Korean players have gone to Valorant?
I
Like,
think
literally
because
all
of
them.
I think because of the culture in like the esports culture in Korea, because of Riot. If you look at the LCK, which is the League of Legends pro circuit in Korea, which is I mean it's humongous, it's huge, right? It's kind of like it's kind of the StarCraft League of 2010, all the way up to now, right? And it hasn't gone anywhere. It's just consistent. Money's there, viewership is there, and they constantly compete in Worlds, which is like the international tournaments. So I think it's a esports culture in Korea. That's why and also the lack of support for Counter-Strike in Korea, and that's kind of why I think they all moved on to Valorant. So I don't think that's gonna happen in the rest of Asia that quickly. Maybe in China, because China does really good in League of Legends as well, and it's riot-free games. I mean, Counter-Strike is free too right now, right? So I don't think CS is gonna go away necessarily just because of Valorant.
Sure. Okay, I have one more question, and then we're done, unless Pilski's got something else to add after that. And it's in relation to Freeman and Xeta. You know, you're a team that's been looking for players. Did you ever consider Freeman and Xeta? Like, were they off Tyloo at the right time for BTRG to think about that, or was that never part of the equation? Because those two seem like, you know, you got a Korean already. You know, Xeta and Zion have played together already. Could be a good fit. Freeman from Hong Kong should speak relatively decent English, I would imagine. If not, you know, chuck him in anyway. I'm sure it works. You guys can't communicate anyway, it seems like. So who cares? So what's the deal? Did you ever think about Freeman and Xeta, or not on the cards at all?
I did. Okay, let me first explain the relationship between BTRG and Tyloo. Like the two bosses are really close. They're like xiongdi. They're like brothers, right? So
can you speak Chinese, by the way?
Yeah, I can speak
so
fluent
there you
Mandarin.
go, no problems.
Yeah. So when we got Kevin over from Tyloo, like Xgrade from Tyloo, it was actually like a really simple process. Like literally, he was in Hangzhou Tyloo bootcamp, finished the minor for them, took a cab over to Hangzhou BTRG bootcamp. He was there. It was done.
Easy.
Right. So Freeman and Xeta was something that I spoke to my boss about. Right. I'm like, I heard that maybe they're getting benched some time ago, or like I just heard like there was roster changes in Tyloo. So my own assumption was that they're gonna take out Freeman and Xeta and make a new like full Chinese lineup. So I was right, okay, I was correct. So I spoke to my boss, like I told him, what about Freeman and Xeta? What do you think? And there was some discussion there, but there was also concerns about what was it? I think it was their form as players. I think Freeman hasn't been playing all too good, like prior to being put on the bench, and I think Xeta was kind of Xeta is someone that I want to work with, but I also feel like he's a bit worn out from Counter-Strike. When I spoke to him, he just said like he really liked the Tyloo guys. He tried really hard for them, but this communication thing is hard to deal with. Also like the whole COVID-19 situation, he couldn't be boot camping in China with them, and it's kind of hard for him as well. And it kind of just hit him pretty hard, like motivational wise.
Sure, I can imagine why. Like, if you look at the career that he's had, you got to say like he's probably one of the players that's been fucked the most by Counter-Strike, you know, because he finally gets into MVP. It looks like this sick team of Korean players, insta boom, like the team just mental booms and disappears. Then you get picked up by Tyloo. You get picked up by the best team in the Asian scene. You're thinking, yes, this might be my chance. I can go internationally, play on Tyloo, and bam, coronavirus. It's like, fuck you, Xeta. And then, you know, he gets benched, and now it's like, okay, well, what do I do? I've seen him, by the way, playing Valorant in a tournament recently. So I really hope that he comes back to Counter-Strike, but I almost wouldn't be surprised to see him just say, fuck it, like I'm going to Valorant, playing with the rest of the Korean boys and having a good time there. Maybe you should have saved him impression.
Yeah, maybe I could have. Maybe I should have. Maybe he didn't want to be saved, you know. Maybe he's just tired of Counter-Strike. Like, I mean, the truth is, the Freeman Xeta thing, that discussion did happen. But that was something that I felt like would like honestly, that was a team that we had to be. Everyone has to be really delicate about it, because if you put Zion, Accurate, Impression, Xeta, Freeman in the team, and someone has a problem and they don't talk about it, it's gonna go boom like MVP, because this is a team of players who have had crazy peaks, have had recognition from the rest of the world, and also at the same time, there are players that I'm 100% sure, right, as like someone who's like been in a captain position, like an in-game leader position, I kind of understand people, and I know that if any of the egos get into the way, it will kind of be hard to work with, but it's not impossible. if players are professional about it. So that discussion did happen. I also had my concerns with that roster because I'm not sure how well it would turn out. But right now, if you tell me, hey, take Freeman and Xeta, drop Genius and Eeyore, and then we continue on with BTRG, I would say no, because I really like the work ethics I found with Genius and Eeyore, and I feel that with time they could be a lot better. I think they're the better people and better players for us, like as a team,
Okay.
because everybody takes up space in the team. If too many people take up too much space, you can't see what happens with that, with what's going on with somebody in Tyloo. So right now, my team's found a good balance. Freeman and Xeta, right now, if you ask me to take them, it's probably a no-go for me. Up for discussion maybe, but I'm just really sick of changing rosters and things. Let's just go with what we have for BTRG, I think.
All right, maybe this is a bit of a bonus question then. Before we close, is where would you like to see Freeman and Xeta end up?
Oh, I think Freeman back in Vici is a good idea, maybe. But
Pili's ready. He's fucking ready to say
yeah,
something. He wants to.
yeah, because I know for a fact that Freeman, if you give him the space, he can be like the OG somebody of Tyloo. Like they had similar roles and they played a similar Counter Strike. Smart, good methods. It's just whether or not they get the space to do what they want. And Freeman did not have that in Tyloo. I think Tyloo, everyone was fighting each other for space as a team that they couldn't get too far as a team. I think that was a big problem for them. Except for when Bentet was there, because when Bentet was there, he gets all the space and he knows how to assign the space because he's a good Counter Strike player. So Freeman back in Vici, Xeta. Dude, put Xeta in like a North American team, man. I think he'll do good. I think he brings good like fundamentals. He brings good ideas. I worked with Zine. I know the kind of ideas that they have in MVP. And I know like Korean Counter Strike is not as simple as just Counter Strike. They have all the way from like the We Made Fox days from Solo. They have a different way of playing Counter Strike, and it's a different way that works.
So you
It's just
don't want to
unfortunate that-
save that impression. You don't want to put together your Korean dream team and convince your boss that we want BTRG red and blue team and we're gonna have a Korean.
I think if anything, Tyloo should do like an international team. They have 2 guys on the contracts.
True.
Make an international team. Get three other guys.
It's an
Get like
interesting
some
point.
Europeans. Get some Mongolians.
I'm
So-
sure you know Jack, right? Have a chat with him.
Yeah, I'm sure I can get something. Give him a few ideas. Plant the seed in his mind.
All right.
But yeah, Tyloo International. See that for 2021, man.
I think that would be pretty cool. I'd like to see it. Anyway, I'm not sure that we will, but if we do, we'll talk about it on Geographically Challenged in some episode in the future. That is going to be the end of episode 8, so we'll do the rounds again. Pilski, we'll start with you and give Impression his time in the sun as the last man standing.
Tune in to Dreamhack. Get to watch the Thai teams hit an all-new low. Get to see if Vici's going to choke again. And honestly, if you're not someone, if you watch this, you are probably someone that tunes into Oceanic Counter-Strike. But if you're a fan of Impression who's from Asia and you don't watch Oceanic Counter-Strike, this would be the time to do it. This group for Dreamhack is actually kind of a banger. So I would recommend. There's going to be some exciting Counter-Strike games to be watching in that one. So tune into that. Follow me on Twitter so you can click on the content, unlock bonus content. But yeah, that's it.
All right. That's at Pilski Casts. Impression, your turn.
Well, I guess to whoever's watching, thank you for joining us. Thank you for inviting me onto this podcast as well.
You're welcome.
I had fun sharing, like, getting a piece of my mind out. I mean, I have a lot to say usually, but it's good to express yourselves. So yeah, I mean, if you enjoy what I say, or if you probably hate me because I said something to offend you, you can follow me on Twitter and DM me about it. I get it all the time. People talking about all the mafia shit. I'm used to it. Come DM me, give me some negative experiences. I love it. So yeah, thanks for having me. It was really fun, guys. I think let's hope BTRG goes on continues on an upwards trend, at least for sake of Pilski, especially for Genius.
Let's hope so.
I'm keen, mate. I'm keen. Someone from Thai's got to succeed.
Yeah, that's Impression. You can find him at Impression CSGO on Twitter. And hopefully we'll get a chance to chat with you in the future. I'm sure there's an episode somewhere down the track where, when BTRG inevitably implodes and you make your move over to Valorant, we'll have a bit of a discussion about that. Anyway, of course, I've been Elfishguy. You can find me on Twitter. Make sure you drop us a sub. Make sure you drop us a like and a comment as well. Helps out with the YouTube algorithm, I think. At least that's what I'm told. I'm not really a professional YouTuber or anything like that, but just do all those things because that's what everyone else says to do. So it must be right. No episode next week, most likely, because we'll be casting Dreamhack, so I encourage you to take a look at that. But hopefully you'll make do with all of the highlight clips that I've been posting lately. And I guess we'll catch you in episode 9, where we'll talk about all the Dreamhack results.